Good evening. Welcome to Minor Piece Theatre, a special holiday episode. As you can see, we are festive. We're trying out a new screen in the background. It may or may not work, or it may cause us some technical difficulties, which would not be a good thing in the context of our story, as we have come to realize over the last little while. Hello, Naomi, in the comments today. So this is a very special episode. Dragged Through Time wrapped up in November. We had 4 different episodes of it in order to wrap up the story so that I could get into the revisions and everything else. Oh, we have a couple other people joining in. Please make sure you say hello. I'd love to know who is here in the comments today. Naomi will be looking after you on the comment end of things. So today we have a little bit of a chance to just sit and enjoy. I have a bag here that has inside of it all the names of all the people who have contributed. Hello, Ivana. The names of everyone who has contributed over the past year, answering my challenges, giving any information that I requested at the end of every chapter. As promised, every time you contributed, your name went into the draw. I will be drawing for 3 different copies of the story, which should be published. The publication date is January 31st. Should be when the paperback comes out, as well as when the ebook version of it will also become available. We will also be doing a bit of a question and answer period. Today, we, the royal we, me, myself, and I, will be doing a bit of a question and answer period. So please feel free to have your questions handy. I'm happy to answer anything that doesn't give total spoilers for the upcoming story. So just a little bit of a background. What happened through the Drag Through Time story this year? Well, at the very beginning of the year, we had a fictional New Year's Eve party. There's another question that we can add to our pile. And during that New Year's Eve party, our personas got stolen from our computer screens and transported into various different universes, parallel dimensions, what have you. We partnered up with mermaids and pirates, Greek gods. We met some historical figures that were, I must admit, some of my favorite parts to write about, to actually dip back into the history. Before I became a teacher in my day job, I was an archaeologist, so I loved bringing some of that in. So we got to hang out with Da Vinci. We got to hang out with Sappho the poetess. We got to delve into a bunch of different mythologies and stories that come from different parts of the world, which is all very, very fun. And what's been even more fun is in the last month or so of rewrites, and I've been able to get into some of the other plot lines and side stories that we did not have enough time in the course of the actual year and the draft versions that I was reading to get in. So if you want I'd say there's at least 50 pages more content to the story, you are going to have to either get the Kindle version, or I don't know if it's Kindle or if it's ebook, I have to double check that, or the paperback copy, which will come out both at the end of January. I have with me, no, not this side, I have the work in progress cover from the very wonderful Max Alicious, who has been working on a painting for the cover of our story. So thank you very much, Max Alicious, for that. So this is what the cover is on its way to looking like. Again, thank you so much. I know Max has a couple more things that he wants to do with some more constellation work and putting some fine tuning on the anvil and on the tree, but I think it is looking absolutely fantastic. Yes, it is part 1 of the Slay Chronicles. In this year was supposed to be its own story, but as people got a hold of it and were interacting in it, and more storylines got put out there, it was absolutely fantastic how it grew. And now it is a 3-part in order to get us home following along with the plot line, it is going to be a 3-part story. So very, very, very cool. Yeah, so I don't know. Comments, tell me, since I have done most of this through getting suggestions from the comments, should we do the draw first, or should we do some answer a couple questions and then do the draw and answer some more questions? Tell me in the comments, what should I do? Draw first, questions first, little column A, little column B. What would you like to see? Draw first. All right. So again, for anyone who's tuning in, hello, please leave your name. Let me know who you are. Naomi is in the comments. Thank you very much, Naomi. Naomi, maybe you could put the first names of the winners that get called up on the screen when I call them. These are the people. We had some amazing, absolutely amazing contributors throughout the year. It was wonderful to see so many different people from different walks of life coming together and throwing ideas out, answering challenges, saving characters' lives. At one point, I really did not want to kill off Miss D, but if the riddle had not been solved, that would have been what had happened. Believe it or not, for anyone who did follow the story all the way along, there was a chance that instead of going to Greece, we would have gone to go visit the Vikings. So that was really cool. There was also an opportunity where we never actually would have met or had a challenge with the Mer King himself, with King Triton, based on the first set of answers. So it was really, really cool. I always had a rough idea of what the plot was needing to do in the next chapter, but how it was actually going to be orchestrated was always a bit of a mystery. So each time I read a chapter, I left a challenge, and whoever answered the challenge got their name in the draw. So if they answered 10 challenges, even if they're right or wrong, their name was entered in 10 times. So the very first person I am going to be drawing, see here, the very first contributor. Thank you very, very, very much. I have it right here in my hand. The very first winner of Dragged Through Times, copy of Dragged Through Time, the first hot off the press winner as of January 31st, is my dear friend Sterling. Sterling, thank you very much. Sterling contributed many ideas to the story. In fact, Sterling was the character of Hephaestus was actually modeled after Sterling. So thank you very much for helping me craft that character by bringing him to life with some of your mannerisms, some of your authentic ways of being. Also, Sterling was the very first person to give me a song that Max could seduce Aphrodite and Ares too. And if you have not read the book, it's a very enticing chapter. That actually was one of the hardest chapters to write an entire chapter where all the dialogue of that came from song lyrics. So Sterling gave me the very first song lyric for that, as well as helped me out with some of the Da Vinci, as well as helped me out with Hephaestus himself. So thank you very much, Sterling. All right, book number 2. I'm going to do 3 draws. 3 draws as promised. January felt so long ago. It felt so long ago when I was very first chapter, when I was saying this is what is going to happen. We are going to be drawing names. The second name in my hand, the second book, is going to the wonderful, the beautiful Noreen, or as shall we use drag name? Ivana. Ivana has had a whirlwind of adventures in this, and Ivana, you have contributed so much to helping craft your character. Your character ended up being quite a central character in the entire story. So the amount of times I had to go to Ivana and say, what would you say here? What would you do here? Also, is this too far to go with your beloved Long Dong Silver? And of course, the answer was always no. So thank you very much, Ivana. Noreen, you are our second winner of a, look at all those. I love all those comments. You are our second winner of us. a paperback copy of the book. All right, last winner, the very last winner of a hot off the press paperback copy of Drag Through Time. You can see I'm not looking. There's a whole bunch in here. There's at least 20, 30 different names in here. Ivana, I know you love your adventures with Long Dong Silver. And don't worry, there are more to come. And the very last one is our very own Naomi. However, Naomi, I am going to redraw. I'm making the executive decision to redraw because you will have a copy in our house. So, and you kind of know the author. So I will make sure I hit you up with one of those copies. So I'm going to redraw, but thank you very much. Of course, Naomi has been another central character in the story, and Chris is as my beloved out of drag fiance has spent a good deal of the year hearing random 2 o'clock in the morning ideas while he's been sleeping or not asleep or woken up, because the middle of the night seems to be when I have the best times to think. So, but Naomi, I am going to redraw. I'm making the executive decision because you will have a copy of this in the house as it is. So congratulations so far. All right, the very last winner, the last winner of Naomi, you have entered too many of the draws. I'm going to take your name out. And the very last winner, I have the name in my hand right now. It is none other than the savior of Miss D herself. This contributor contributed every single time of every challenge and was actually the individual who saved, the very first person who guaranteed Miss D's survival in the story and to continue on throughout the entire rest of the series when she was faced with the riddle from the Sphinx. No one else was able to answer it except for this woman right here. Judy, you have won yourself a copy of Dragged Through Time. So thank you very, very much. And I just want to say, as I drop my phone, thank you, though, so much to all my other contributors. I know, Amber, you have your name in there. I know, Ashley, you have your name in there. Ali, you have your name in there. Pam, you have your name in there. So many people have their name in here, and thank you so much. Please keep your eye out for those books. They will be coming out, like I said, in January 31st is the publication date, barring any issues with shipping and printing. But thank you very much. So, Judy, you have won a signed copy, a personalized signed copy. Sterling, you've won a personalized signed copy. And Ivana has won a personalized signed copy. Congratulations. If you want your own copy, and you order it through Slay the Night, if you wish to put a little comment saying, I would like you to please sign this and sign it to anyone or to someone in particular, of course, I will send you a signed copy as well. I believe that when the soft cover is going to be $20 and the ebook, I'm still looking at the pricing right now to be able to determine that, but that will be significantly less expensive. Of course, the ebook I won't be able to sign. But if you order through our order form, there is a pre-order available for the Drag Through Time book series. I believe that pre-order is going to be up until the middle of January, so that I know how many books to rush order in order to be able to get to you. Make sure that you fill out the pre-order form. It is pinned on our Facebook page, and in the comments, anything where you'd like me to know, say, please, I'd like a signed copy. I'd like it put out to this person. Any special instructions, I will be happy to sign you a copy, sign your purchase. Yeah, that would be excellent. We have our resident Viking princess in the comments. Hello, Melody. Hello. And we will also have a new draw starting next year, starting in 2022, because as I said, this is actually going to be a trilogy. So the second part of the book takes place next year. There are still 2 challenges that actually have not been faced. 3 challenges, sorry. 3 challenges that have not been faced by the Slay family, as predicted by the Sphinx in this story. They have found out who transported them into the future, or well, into the parallel dimensions, and sort of why. But now the question is, how do they get back? And also, who was the person who interceded and stopped the villain, or at least waylaid the villain, so the villain got sent to Italy at the same time that the Slay family was transported to the pirate ship outside of Spain, in the Spanish waters there, I believe it was. And the second question is, how did that person who interceded, what has been referred to potentially as their guardian angel, how did that individual send the eye back into the past so that Long Dong was going to pick it up? How did they know? Who were they? And how do they know? That is one of the biggest things that is going to be looked at next book. That you know who the villain is now, and you know why they have it out for the Slay family. But now the question is, who was the one who interceded and stopped the villain right at the get-go from completing their spell properly? So it is, I'll open it up to questions, question and answer period now. I do have some questions that were sent to me beforehand, but if you do have a question, please do leave it in the comments. Unless it's going to completely spoil the story, I will absolutely happily answer the question. I think I have about 10 minutes of question time before I think we're going to be wrapping this up for tonight. Anything you would like to know about the writing process, anything you'd like to know about the characters, anything you'd like to know about next year. I saw a question in the comments asking, I believe that was from Naomi, asking who dies. Well, no one currently. But, for example, last year, or this year, there was a chance that Miss D would die. How many cups of coffee did I consume? Well, funny story. I have been actually, as a writer, this is not the funny part. As a writer, I've been suffering from a pretty terrible writer's block for the better part of about 15 years now. It has been actually quite painful, almost physically painful, to create and write, but it's even more painful not to. So one thing I am blessed with this year doing was forcing me to write every month to be able to get a story done. And I have not put the end on a story for many, many years, and it felt wonderful to finally write those last few words and be done the first draft and enter into that drafting process, or that revision process. It was absolutely phenomenal. I love the fact that we have a publication date set up. I love the fact that I have had some amazing beta readers reading my work and helping me make sure that everything is flowing properly. Thank you very much to my ARC readers. I actually have an ARC reader even in the UK. So thank you very much, Michael, who's going to be reading a fellow author who I deeply respect, who's going to be one of my, who's going to be looking at an ARC copy and Events Reader copy to help me out with making sure that everything's looking good in that side from the UK. So thank you very much to him. And then I have my couple wonderful friends from here in Lloydminster, and then from Edmonton, who are also going to be working through the secondary, the right before publication process. So all of that is fantastic, and I can't believe that I am here. Over the last 10 years, because of the writer's block, it did seem almost impossible that I would get here again. So I am truly deeply blessed and deeply thankful for everyone who has followed me along this journey to be able to get into another series and fall in love with it as much as I have. That being said, this pulls it back to the cups of coffee I consumed. Pots upon pots and pots upon pots. I probably at least went through one of those tins of coffee. I would have all month to write a chapter. And each chapter was in the draft form, each chapter was about 9 pages. In the revised form, it hits about 17, but between 9 and 12 pages per chapter. So really, it shouldn't have taken me very long to write. And yes, I did keep Maxwell in business. But I, for some reason, could not be creative until about 48 hours before the chapter was due to be read online, sometimes even 24 hours before the chapter is online. There was many times where Naomi was saying, what, babe, maybe next month we start writing this story earlier, like in week 1, instead of a 24-hour, usually all day Saturday and a bit of Sunday panic binge writing, sometimes right up until quite literally minutes before airtime, I'm getting dressed and still revising, making little things. Noreen, thank you. So many, I lost track. Maybe I should count. Maybe next year, this coming year, I should count to see. That could be one of our competitions for next year. Next year, we will predict how many cups of coffee I will drink while writing next year. That's officially now. Write that down. Put it in the notes. I'm usually the one who puts it in the notes, but Naomi, put it in the notes. Ivana, hold me to it. Well, we're going to do a prediction where people are going to find out they're going to predict how many cups of coffee, and that'll give them. We'll do a draw for the correct answer. It's like a jelly bean jar. It's just the jar hasn't been filled yet. It's good. We'll do that. It was such a great honor, Noreen, to have you be such a contributor to the story and to be helped. And to help craft that, and also to be able to kind of live out a little bit of a fantasy for you, to give you a bit of a gift, to be able to craft that romance. It's been so much fun writing you and Captain Long Dong Silver. So yes, that is one of the questions. The question of who dies, I can't really answer that because I don't know. Some of it will depend on community feedback. At this point, no one dies because I love them all. But as a writer, we must learn how to kill our darlings. And I've always told my creative writing students that actually the author is the ultimate villain, because we're the ones that even puts the villain into terrible predicaments. So we're the ones that chooses all those terrible things. And in terms of cups of coffee, we will find out. That is one of the new challenges, and I will give you your other challenge at the end of tonight. The very first challenge going into the new year. One of the questions that was asked was, what kind of surprises can we expect in 2022 as a story jumps to part 2 of the trilogy? We are going to be going a little bit of a different path in 2022. We are going to be entering into the land of fiction. We found out our antagonist, our villain, was from one of Phoenix's stories, written in November of 2020, and that character did not think it was fair that they were created simply to be killed off in the end of a book. So there we go. That's actually kind of funny, Ivana, with the plot twist. And I always wanted to bring that character back. And believe it or not, that was one of the very first things I knew back in January, was who the villain was going to be. And it was fun placing little tiny breadcrumbs throughout the book. And then now, as I said, now in the rewrites, coming back and getting into it a little bit more in depth. So what kind of surprises? Well, instead of going to different lands or slightly alternate dimensions of historical places and getting to delve through history, being dragged through time, we're actually going to go into a world that belongs to the antagonist, to the villain. It is a world of fiction and fantasy, and we are going to be bouncing instead of between times. We're going to be bouncing between Hans Christian Andersen and Brothers Grimm fairy tales. And yes, the real fairy tales, the ones where the stepsisters cut off pieces of their feet to fit into Cinderella's slipper. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be bouncing between those stories and those realms, because we've been sucked into the villain's time stream now, which was one of the goals throughout this particular book, was to find which time stream they needed to be in, but maybe not happening in the way that they intended it to. Will there be introduction of new characters was another question. Yes, well, sort of. Definitely yes, in the fact that I get to hang out with my very near and dear friend Sterling. He was referenced multiple times in the Drag Through Time story. If any of you don't know, he is our fantastic photographer, our wonderful Master Satan. We could not do what we do without him, and being able to bring him in on the advisory side throughout the story, kind of dropping him in different versions of showing how in almost all alternate dimensions there was this mentor character who provides a lot of the role that Sterling does in our lives. He's very much someone who many of us turn to when we need a little bit of guidance or advice or just a listening ear. I can't say enough about my very close friend, and I get choked up thinking about him. So, and thinking about what he does for all of us. So his role throughout Drag Through Time, there were little tidbits where multiple times in different chapters, his name would get mentioned. And then Hephaestus, being that mentor role, actually was modeled very closely after Sterling. If Sterling was a character on Mount Olympus, who would he be? And at the very end of the story, for any of you who followed along to the end, after the final showdown in this book with the villain, Phoenix wakes up seemingly alone in a glade in a forest, and Sterling is there, and it's not just a dream. It is somehow Sterling, while he was photographing the night sky, also got sucked into this realm. So, and he seems to know a little bit more than what he's letting on. So, introduction of new characters, yes, absolutely. Sterling is a character in the story right from the get-go, keeping Phoenix sane, which is a big because I'm not very nice to myself in this story, I'm afraid. Yes, Grimm's fairy tales are very grim, and I love the originals. I also love all of the nursery rhymes, like the original, some of the original nursery rhymes. I kind of have collected heirloom nursery rhyme books. Once I was given as a kid, my grandmother's I believe it was one of my grandmother's nursery rhyme books, my mom's nursery rhyme book. I believe I have one of my uncle's nursery rhyme books. So so that's going to be where we start, is in nursery rhymes, and the old, very dark, like, why would we sing this to children? Nursery rhymes, also getting into Brothers Grimm. So it's going to be kind of a darker chapter in this as we go through the middle part of the trilogy. Another question that was asked: favorite dialogue of one of the characters. Oh, I think my favorite dialogue is always when I write a piece and I read it out loud and I look up to see my friends' reactions, and they know exactly who it is. Or hearing that, I can hear Naomi's voice when she goes, "Hello, everybody," right at the beginning. Ivana's "Shiver Me Timbers" lines, Jelly Beans. There's so many good lines from Jelly Bean of "You Know What I Mean." One of my favorites, Little Miss Sunshine, well known for saying "Oh My Land," but as we find out, Little Miss Sunshine in this reality is the mermaid Solus, and she gets her name, Little Miss Sunshine. She chooses her name at the end of the book in their final one. But for her to come out and say "Oh My Waves" instead of "Oh My Land" originally, and then the fun that happens after that. My least favorite dialogue was writing Sappho, who is known as the 10th muse in Greek poetry. We still have the Saphatic, I believe I'm saying it right, meter. She was the mother of lyrical poetry. She is known as the poetess, even in Greek times. But she has a very distinct meter that she writes in, and I decided for some reason that it would be fun to have a bit of an Easter egg in there where I wrote the majority of lines of dialogue that she says is actually done in this lyrical meter style of hers, between long vowels, short vowels, long consonants, long syllables, short syllables, the pattern of how many syllables in a line, how they follow. And that was a mistake. I was younger then, and I have spent way too much time working on Sappho's dialogue, but it's turning out really great. But that's probably my least favorite line of dialogue. Oh, good. So many fun lines going into when we first meet the pirates and mining through, trying to find little, again, Easter eggs, I guess you could say, from the Muppets, Treasure Island, going through writing those in. One of the most difficult chapters to write, but also one of the most fun, was deciding that I needed a musical chapter, just like we always have, or some of my favorite TV shows have a musical TV show episode that's totally corny, but it's really great. And so decided to have all the lines of dialogue be actually lines of lyrical of songs, and then seeing if my audience could guess, pick out all. I believe there was 14 songs. I think there was hidden throughout that chapter. Just lots of really fun dialogue. That was one of the most. It's really fun to write fan fiction about your best friends. It just is, and that's really what I did. Is I wrote a piece of fan fiction about my best friends, my nearest and dearest, and it was a blast. It has been a blast. Another question is, will we see the departure of certain beloved characters? I believe Ivana asked this question. Ivana, don't worry. Captain Long Dong is not going anywhere. I promised you that he would stay at your side, at least in part. But I must say, I was reading through my notes recently just to make sure to see if there was anything else that had come out in the notes on leading up that I hadn't gotten to, that I need to put into my other book. I believe there was a mention of Ivana singing SOS at one point, where she really needs Captain Long Dong to come and save her, have a maiden in distress moment. Although I don't know, I think Ivana is such a strong character that she'd end up saving him in the end. But there may be there definitely, when I read that, I thought, oh, I forgot about that. So something like expect to see an SOS number in a future book for you, because I didn't get that one into this one. What are some of the areas and locations we can look forward to as the story continues? That is a really great question. That's the last question that I have right now. And Ivana's got a plot twist that would blow people's minds. And tell you what, Ivana, you tell me that in private, and we will make sure that we have that worked in into that chapter that involves that song, and we'll make that work for you. So the last question gave me a really great segue into the first challenge that I will leave for the 2020 book. I don't have a title for it quite yet. I'm still working on that. You will know that by the end of January, when I do my first minor piece theater of the year, where I read my first chapter. Yes, tell me on Tuesday. What are some of the eras and locations we can look forward to? Now, I've polled my Slay family of what their favorite Brothers Grimm and Hans Christian Andersen chapter or fairy tales are. I did warn them that I might ruin those because they're not exactly. I'm not going Disney. I'm going right back into the archives of Brothers Grimm, as close as I can to the originals that I can find, which is going to be so much fun. But I would also like to know from the audience. That is going to be your first challenge. So anyone who leaves a comment in here, either during or while you're watching or after the fact, or messages Slay the Night, make sure that you let us know that the question is coming to me for Minor Piece Theater, for the second installment of the Slay Chronicles, Little Mermaid. Yes, yes, that one we can put that into the pile. Absolutely. I'm not too sure who I'm going to send back into the water. That'll be really interesting because Solus came to us from the ocean. So that'll be very, very, very interesting. And I did base a lot of Solus's story on different Greek and Danish myths about mermaids and various different water spirits. So we'll put the Little Mermaid in there. Of course, it's a very sad one. So that might end up in who could die at the end. I hope not. But of course, because in the original Hans Christian Andersen Little Mermaid, she ends up turning into sea foam and her spirit after she dies. So that's already getting my brain twisting of exactly what we can do there. So I'm kind of excited. Thank you very much. But yes, just like Naomi did in the comments by throwing Little Mermaid in there, throw in your favorite nursery rhyme, throw in your favorite fairy tale, throw in your favorite, whatever it is. Again, I'm not going to do Disney versions. I'm going to be going back into the archives of some of the dark and twisty originals. That is the challenge. And I will start putting names into draw for, oh goodness, it's going to feel weird because it's going to actually probably go pretty quickly. But December, the 12 Days of Christmas December episode of 2022, we will draw for copies of the next story based on our contributions all year. So the first challenge is start getting me some of those stories. We might not actually be set in there, but definitely I will work in every character. I will try to, well, I won't try. Any story I get, any fairy tale I get, any nursery rhyme I get, put into the comments. But I will make sure there are Easter eggs, characters. Some chapters might be centered right around that fairy tale itself. You never know. So that's your challenge for before January. So before the, I believe it bounces between the second last and the last Sunday of January. We will have our first reading of the first chapter of the second book in the series, as well as hopefully I will be able to show you a physical copy of the book, which I'm really excited about. So between now and then, get me your names of your favorite fairy tales, your favorite nursery rhymes, your favorite stories, any type of oral traditions, any folk tales. I'll definitely take folk tales as well, because I know definitely there are some really amazing folk tales. If you give me oral traditions from some of the most amazing oral traditions from the indigenous peoples, definitely I will find a way to work those in. Those I will be treating as sacred though. So they will have to have a lot of thought to be brought in, and I will absolutely take them and weave them into the story, but just they may not show up until the end, because for those I would really love to be able to work with some elders and be able to treat them with the sacred nature that they are intended to have. So Yeah. If there aren't any, I'll give just a second to see if there's any other questions, any last questions. Yvonne is going to get me a name of one of the Grimm's fairy tales. That's going to be awesome. But thank you. Thank you very much for being on this journey. Thank you for helping me start fighting out of a very long, decade-long writer's block, over a decade-long writer's block. Thank you for your help in being, oh, I guess it's on this side, being able to create something that I have thoroughly enjoyed all year. And I'm looking forward to 2022 of our next part 2 of the Slay Chronicles as we continue our journey through parallel universes and adventures on our way home. Until then, goodbye. Thank you. Happy holidays. I wish you all the best. Fly high and enjoy everything the universe can send your way. I hope it is wonderful. I hope it is amazing. I hope it is magical. And I hope it is filled with love. Goodbye.